And I need to resume recording as well. Okay, here we go. This is the full moon. Does it look like a bunch of gobbledygook? Oh man. Sometimes still I look at the chart and I'm like, it takes me a minute to hone in on what it all means. So first I want to talk about the nature of what astrology is, right? So it is an art that relates archetypes to the movement of the stars. Uh, and it's also a measurement of time and space. And I think it really does a good job of explaining current energies, validating how we feel. Um, Also, just maybe even looking at the future. Some people have problems with that because you get into free will and prediction. And I do think that it's helpful to look at themes that might be showing up. I'm not necessarily a predictive astrologer, although I do feel like we can look at a theme and perhaps sway things a different direction and create the future. So, this is an astrology chart here on the outside. Let me get my little pointer. These are signs: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sag, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, right? These little things in here are planets and also asteroids and also points in space. And then this here is how these talk to each other. It's called an aspect. Now, if you see these little pie pieces here that says 1, 2, 3, 4, those are known as houses, and you can pull up your own chart, and that tells you where in your life that will manifest. So that's my quick rundown. And now let me talk about this full moon. The first thing that we look at, well, there's the sun. Sun's down here in Cancer. Mercury is retrograde in Cancer as well. This little object is Vesta. She's the fire keeper. She keeps the fires burning. So what does Cancer represent? Well, it represents nurturing, emotional needs. All water signs have an emotional flair to it, right? So Cancer is cardinal water. We take action with our emotions here. So it's the sign of the mother. Um, Usually Cancers, I'm a Cancer rising, so I can say this, get a bad rap for being super emotional, and that's very true, but there's a reason for it, and it's because we care, right? Cancer cares. Cancer wants to make sure we have our needs met. Mercury retrograde there is just having us really think about this concept, perhaps rethink about how we're nurturing ourselves, the time we spend with our family, uh, the amount of rest we're getting, how we nurture our bodies. That's all very Cancerian. Also, moving emotion right now. I mean, I was driving down the road the other day and I just started crying. I just, life is strange, right? And so feeling that and being okay with the feelings that it brings up. Lots of triggers, lots of just interesting outside uh, happenings that are affecting our internal world. So of course we're thinking about it. Mercury retrograde also gets the connotation of things breaking down or things going wrong. Well, the reason being is because we're being called by God or universe or energy, whatever spirit, whatever you want to call the thing outside of us, right? This reality is sort of saying, hey, if something breaks down, maybe you need to be thinking about it. Maybe this needed to shift, like if your car broke down, were you nurturing yourself in that way? Were you changing the oil, or did you need to pause? Did you need to be going to the place? I mean, I know that it does not discount the fact that it will suck, right? And to feel those feelings, but really, I think that's what this Mercury retrograde is about, feeling the feelings and allowing yourself to, not being distracted, not going over here and doing this. A lot of times, especially in our current society, what we've been doing is the hustle, right? And the hustle distracts you from having to do much feeling. I need to go make money. I need to be busy. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do that. Not right now. This is the great pause, right? Uh, and I think it's very much needed. It's like a comma. It's like, but But wait, there's more. Okay, so the cycle that we're in is the Cancer new moon cycle. We had during the solstice, the moon and the sun were together here in Cancer, and that plants an emotional seed. And the moon moves, obviously, every day. And now it's in, well, actually, right now, if I were to look at today's charts in Sagittarius, and I probably will go to today's chart soon, but at the full moon, 11:44 p.m. in Birmingham, Alabama, it's tomorrow at 13 degrees of Capricorn. Cancer and Capricorn are opposite in the zodiac for a reason. Cancer's emotional needs, emotions in general, the sign of the mother. Whoops. Capricorn is how you do that in the outside world. How do you structure your life to protect yourself? So Capricorn is known as the framework, the boundary, the foundation, the authority, the taskmaster. It's like, well, if you need to meet these needs, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to do some work. And that's what the full moon is bringing awareness to. The work. Have we done the work? Have we laid the rules the right way? Now, this is collective, right? So collectively as a society, we're looking at these rules and we're becoming very aware of the authority that's maybe not meeting our needs as a culture, a society, the rules that we have, the foundations we've been building our life on, man, are those changing. And all of the work that we've been doing over the last year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years, well, is it still working for you? All the plans, all the commitments, all the the things. Capricorn is the material world, and our emotions are very aware of that right now. So there's another thing, if you can see where the arrow is pointing, it's pointing at the moon, but what about all of the other little objects here? That one and that one and that one and that one. Well, that's Saturn. Saturn is naturally at home in Capricorn. It really likes to be in Capricorn because Saturn has the same connotation. It's the taskmaster, the rule maker, the authority, wisdom. That's Saturn, the boundary, okay? So when it's in its home sign, it's doing that thing. It's setting boundaries, setting rules. Really, are you doing the work? Kind of the foreman, right? Next to it is Pluto, and Pluto is about transformation and destruction. When those two meet up, but it's destruction for rebirth, and that's why it's transformation. When those two meet up, naturally we're going to be restructuring, doing away with old foundations, old structures, old rules. And then there's this planet Jupiter, and that's truth and expansion. Well, Jupiter and Pluto are sitting here together at the same exact degree, 23 degrees. And that means probably going to be finding out some truths that maybe have been, it's like lifting up a rock. In fact, that is one of the best ways to describe this specific full moon. When you lift up a rock, I don't know if you can hear my kids in the background just screaming. They're just screaming outside the door. Anyway, when you lift up a rock and there are, little roly-polies and bugs and all kinds of stuff underneath, you have no idea what's under that rock until you lift it up. In fact, you may think there's nothing there. We lifted up, we're putting some rock down underneath our deck and redoing it so I can have a pool for the kids to be able to play at. It's a little tiny pool, but something, because they need to get some sunlight. They've been inside their rooms video gaming, and that's just not healthy. So anyway, I've been restructuring all of that, doing the work, right? Lifted up a piece of wood. Oh, I need to take a picture and share with you guys. It was a little lizard or salamander or something, and I'm not a reptile expert, but it had eggs and everything, and I made sure to put that rock back down. If I had just willy-nilly stepped on that rock or done something, I would have never known that I was killing those little eggs or killing that thing. So I'm glad that we found it. I would not have known about the life underneath without lifting up that rock. That's the nature of this full moon. We are lifting up a rock. We are seeing what our structures are based on, what we need to redo, what we need to protect. That's Cancer. What do we need to protect? What's worth protecting? Our health, our family, our emotions. And do we have the right structures around us to protect us? What is the work that's worth doing? What is it? That's also the nature of the Mercury retrograde. You can be thinking, man, my emotions just aren't jiving with this right now. So what is the work worth doing? Why the pause? And a lot of people aren't heeding the call. They're seeing this, they're trying to push towards the old way, towards the old way of being, which was extremely unhealthy. And yes, I mean, maybe this is a crazy thing to say, but the 40-hour work week, the working for what? The going to work in a box every day, being away from your families, just working for low wages for big corporations, so that big multimillionaires and billionaires can keep making money off of your back. That's the nature of this full moon. And so we're going to see what's under the rock very soon. If not during the full moon, sometimes things don't happen right on it, but maybe you just don't know that they're happening right on it. I think of one specific thing in the news that happened recently, and that was the arrest of Epstein's girlfriend, okay? This is pulling back the rock. This is doing the work, because here's the thing. All of these planets right here are retrograde. That's what that little RX means right there, okay? They were moving forward for a while, and it's like, we think we're doing this. That's what we're going this way. We're going this way. Well, we stopped. And ask any client that I've been seeing since last year. I've been saying this won't be a party boat summer. It will not be a party boat summer, because you don't have parties when you have all of this retrograde action in Capricorn, the sign of work, the sign of authority. So Saturn moved for a while into Aquarius, into the very early degrees of Aquarius. Let me just skip back let's just say a month. All right, so there's Saturn. It moved into Aquarius for a while. Well, and Jupiter, all of these were direct. In fact, I could probably go back another month and show you when they were all direct. Well, Pluto was retrograde there, but you get my gist, right? Everything was moving forward. We thought we had just like, okay, there's the blueprints, we got it, we're moving on. No. Now everything is retrograde. That means we are revisiting how we're going to do the work, revisiting the rules. This is unfinished business. This is why the arrest of Epstein's girlfriend happened. Now, what is the unfinished business in your own life? That's something you need to be asking yourself. What have you not really taken care of? I think there's been the nature too of, hold on one. I don't think y'all could hear me raise my voice because I'm muted. Anyhow, they're in there like, it sounds like they're speaking of breaking down structures. That's what it sounds like my children are doing right now. And they know I'm doing a video. So anyway, revisiting the blueprints that we had drawn up, but there's just unfinished business. And it's like, oh, I didn't like this here, so I need to move it. Oh, look at all this rotten wood under there. I didn't even know that needed to be fixed. And there's something that you can kind of point at that might explain why This Jupiter sextile Neptune, even the Pluto sextile Neptune. Neptune is confusion and kind of like listless, like, where am I going? And that's been happening a lot of misinformation. I think I was talking about that in a lot of my videos, a lot of confusion. And it's just like, I don't even know, what am I supposed to do? Okay, there's a virus, we can't go anywhere. What am I supposed to be doing? This is your chance to figure it out. If you haven't found your creative passion, now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should be baking, artisan bread right now, but the chance to figure out where your desires really are is really, really potent right now. And another thing that I need to speak about too is Mars square. Let's see. It's not exactly square. But it's 9 degrees away. I'm going to call it square by sign to this full moon. Mars is in Aries. It's fighting all of this, right? Mars in Aries is like, but I don't want to think about my emotions and I don't want to do the work. What I want to do is get my desires met. And so there is a little bit of this, I want to be doing this, but I can't do this. So that's why it's forcing us back into, okay, well, I got to rethink how I'm doing it. If I want this desire to be met, that makes me have some creative tension where I have to do the work over here. The Mars square is not super fun, I don't think. I mean, but it does create motivation and passion and a desire that you can be aware of, right? So being aware of those desires is going to be another thing that comes up. What is the desire for the future? Who are you? That's another Aries topic, So asserting your own passions and desires, it will have a little bit of friction with the outside world right now. If your desire is to wear beautiful makeup and you have to wear a mask over it, that doesn't necessarily, work, right? So that creates a creative question mark that you have to answer. So that's another thing to be thinking about. What is the thing that you're having to fix? What is this? It's not quite working. So you got to go back to the drawing board, literally go back to the drawing board, revisit the stuff, redo it, restructure it, and, party boat summer, not happening. Okay, so what else is happening during this? Well, it's also trine this planet here that is the ruler of upheaval, innovation, revolution, Uranus. I love Uranus. Uranus is unpredictable. And I love what Rick Levine says. He's one of my teachers, and he says the nature of Uranus being unpredictable means you can't really do predictive astrology. Now, there are lots of good predictive astrologers out there, so please don't take that to mean that I'm taking a poo-poo on it. But I really do think the trine of Uranus to the full moon is going to throw the golden apple in there. Now, the golden apple of chaos is in Greek mythology. It's what started the Trojan War, and it really is associated with the goddess Eris. Well, she happens to be in play here too. Eris is square to Pluto and Jupiter. So this is a little bit of chaos, but Uranus and Taurus is having us rethink our values when it comes to what does money mean to us, the banking system. The last time Uranus was in Taurus was the Great Depression. Also Mother Earth, so this, what I'm hoping is that it drives innovation for thinking outside the box in terms of how we approach this new reality. What matters, what truly, truly matters. This could also spell, I mean, Uranus and Taurus spells earthquakes and natural events. So, that's something to look for. But it also gives us an emotional freedom, the emotional freedom to move forward into a life that we truly desire. The awareness of, hey, I have a new idea, or I don't value this anymore. I don't value doing this thing for work anymore. I don't value it. Or I really did value that and I really want to go back to it. So, how can I help move humanity along to make that happen? Uh, you know, there's something else I want to talk about because I've seen a lot of Jupiter Pluto stuff go on in the last day or two. What I mean by that is exposing. That's what I mean. It's pulling up the rock, right? It's exposing a lot of, there's, I could actually relate it to the astrology because the South Node is in Sagittarius. And that is exposing beliefs that weren't working, maybe getting rid of some really firm beliefs that we've always held. But another thing that Sagittarius rules is the guru, and it also rules it rules optimism, right? So I think it's interesting to have past life karma being cleared out, and it's like maybe what I used to be optimistic about is shifting as well. But this is part of why I believe things are being exposed. And specifically, I think it's interesting to look at spiritual leaders and gurus who are being exposed for maybe what they really are. Now, this is gonna get real, okay? Because I'm sitting here and I'm talking about all these spiritual concepts, and I'm looking at the planets, and I'm telling you stuff. Do not follow gurus. Do not follow gurus. You are your own guru. You take what I say, you take what anyone says, and you check it, because every human is fallible, fallible beyond belief, okay? So please don't put all your eggs in one basket in terms of spirituality. If you're a Christian, I'm talking to you about your preacher. If you are a yogi, I'm talking to you about the yogi that you follow. If you're an atheist and you're reading, one scientist's point of view, I'm talking to you too. This is not a time to have one person that you are believing in to lead you, because every human, going through it right now. We're all going through a huge shift, clearing out past life karma and meeting ourselves in scary ways, in heartbreaking ways, in ways where we're exposing our own faults, right? So if you're listening to one specific person and you're following what they say, you're not on your own path. You have to listen. You have to listen to a bunch of, the North Node is in Gemini. That means many different places, many informations. You have to check it. I'm feeling very passionate about this because one of my teachers has been, what do I want to say? It's difficult. It's heartbreaking because he's someone that I learned from and was inspired by. Uh, and I'm hearing that he maybe, I don't know. This is another thing. What is the truth anymore? I don't know, but I have to believe women who come forward and say, I was coerced into this by somebody sexually, right? Especially a spiritual leader. And I've seen it come from preachers in the Christian church. And I've seen it come from, we've all probably watched that Netflix documentary about um, Bikram yoga, right? And spiritual leaders are fallible. Even Gandhi has dark stuff attached to him. Now, does that discount the enlightened things they say? I'll leave that up to you to decide. I don't think it necessarily does, because even good things can come from shitty situations. So, but it just brings up the whole subject of where did I hear this? Maybe Alan Watts. Guru is Guru, right? That's how you spell it. So you have to be checking things out with your own heart. And, we can talk about this in terms of even information that's being shared. And, I'm also talking to you, political follower. If you are following one political person off the edge of a cliff, you're going to go off the edge of a cliff with them. If you are not in your own spiritual truth, in your own autonomy, it's not going to bode well for you during this time. This is a time to check your own heart. That's Mars and Aries. Me. Aries is me. Mars is my desires, my needs, my wants. Now, that's not always like the highest expression of a human to get what you want, but it does keep you alive. So you have to be checking it out with yourself, man. There is not one person who's got all the answers. We're lifting up the rock, and if you've been called out for something, if you were the nasty maggots under the rock, right? If one part of your belief system was wrong, it's okay to let the sunlight hit it and go, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Man, I've been wrong about so much in my life. I've said some terrible things. I've thought some terrible things. I've been educated about these things. Most of them were when I was drinking, but I'm also trying to curb that lately. But the point being, if you're educated about something, I'm wrong. That was wrong. Because the South Node in Sagittarius, and this is, I should say, this is a lunar eclipse, meaning the moon is very close to the node. The nodes in astrology are where eclipses, the nodes in astronomy even are where eclipses happen. It's where the equator and the ecliptic meet. In fact, maybe I don't want to pull that up right now. I have a picture somewhere. Maybe I'll show you. But we're definitely having some nasty beliefs that maybe were ingrained in our psyche culturally. Maybe it's what we learned growing up. That's the nature of Sagittarius. It's book learning. It's what we learned. It's what we learned from a man. It's what we learned from the Bible. It's what we learned from, well, you can think of anything that's been written by a man that we can read. I'm not saying these things aren't spiritually channeled, but they're still, translated by a man. You can think of all sorts of different things. So this is a time to really let spirit lead, to be meditating, to be doing your practice. And I'm not talking to people who, I'm not talking to only people who are spiritual. I'm talking to people who are atheists. You don't have to believe in a God to connect to something that's not information and just, You have to allow yourself, maybe it's your creative principle. Whatever it is, having a healthy lifestyle, walking around the block, do that if you can. Go do that earthing thing. I've been doing it lately and I love it. I love putting my bare feet in the grass for a few minutes a day. I love being able to do my yoga every day. And I love being able to make sure and consciously connect to my children and to make sure and consciously think about what I'm buying. I mean, a spiritual practice is so much bigger than we've been made to believe. And yes, you can meditate while you're pruning and weeding your garden. That's meditation. But it's connection with something outside of yourself. And that's really what is so important right now. I mean, this Neptune sextile Jupiter, we have the ability to be connecting to that world. We have the ability to tune in spiritually and to know what's the way forward, to pay attention to synchronicity. Oh my God. Like if something's come up a few times for you lately, pay attention. Venus is over here in Gemini saying, hey, information, think about it. Let's let our hearts lead. Our hearts are leading our minds. Even Mercury in Cancer, our emotions are leading our minds right now. So kind of like being in that. Now I want to show you guys something else. This is, let me check on, checking on the am I freezing really? I hope I'm not freezing. If someone just said I'm freezing, I don't want to be freezing. Am I still freezing? Y'all tell me if I am. Hope I'm not. Okay, so I want to just check on the comments, make sure I'm not missing anything. But I want to show you something that is very interesting, and that is going to be March 18th. So this is the full moon. Now, follow me here. The outside circle is March 18th. The inside circle, actually, let me switch them. We're going to go with this. Inside circle, March 18th. Outside circle, July 4th. So let me get to March 18th because it's not there yet. Because I want to show you March 18th. Why March 18th? March 18th is when the stock market took that dip at the beginning of the pandemic, okay? This is not to sow fear. This is not to, this is about revisiting, remember, and redoing and recovering and all of that. Here is March 18th. So, and they can't even fit it all. Saturn, the moon, 29 degrees. Pluto, 24. Jupiter, 22 degrees. Mars was there. South Node was there. They're not there right now. But look at here. This is July 4th. What do we have? Saturn was at 29 degrees. Saturn's at 29 degrees again. Pluto was at 24 degrees. Pluto's at 23 degrees again on this full moon. Jupiter was at 22 degrees on March 18th. Jupiter's at 23 degrees. We've even got the moon in there, just like it was on March 18th. That means we're not done. We've got unfinished business. This is pay attention time. This is do the work time. We have to. So the sun, the only difference is that we have Venus and Gemini now, which is information. And we have the sun in Cancer, Mercury in Cancer. This is feelings. We are being informed this time. There was a bit of confusion, a bit of misinformation, a bit of fear mongering, a bit of don't take that to mean that I'm not super serious about this virus. I am. But the fear, what should we be afraid of? Maybe what we should be afraid of is the nature of the people who don't give a shit about others, not the virus. This is pay attention, revisit, redo, restructure. This is time to build the foundation the way it's supposed to be. What is the foundation? I started putting in this little bitty pool. It really is. It's like a blow up pool or whatever. And building my backyard in a way that I'm going to be able to enjoy myself. We built a garden. We're purging stuff inside the house. I pretty much decided on the, one group of friends that I want to have around. And when I say group, I mean like the two people. Because this winter is going to be hard. I venture to say we might have had the easiest part of the year already. Again, that's not to scare you. That's to say you have to put in the work. This is going to be shoveling shit for the rest of the year. There's gold underneath, but there's a lot of work to do. You're going to have to be on top of your physical health. You're going to have to pay attention to what you're putting in your body. That just means whole, healthy foods, and that's only if you can afford it. Guess what? We have to be aware of a system that makes it so that people can't afford healthy food. That's something we need to be aware of. We live in a country that doesn't make it possible for people to get cheap, healthy food, that oppresses certain groups of people. Awareness of that system is very important. And I'm here to say, by the way, I got a garden. If you need some zucchini, please tell me. But being aware as much as you can, as much as you're able to. And if you need help, this is something you're going to have to speak up about. Mercury retrograde and Cancer. Consider your needs. Share them with people. Okay? Because we're supposed to be a community. That's another part of Venus and Gemini. Close community. We are a close community. I live in Leeds, Alabama. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. I can't do much to affect New York City. I can't do much to affect people in another place, but I'll tell you what I can do. I can donate to Be a Blessing Birmingham. I can offer people my services. I can give people food. I can donate to local GoFundMes, which is what I've been doing if I have the ability. And if you don't have the ability, you do what you can. And if all you can do is take care of yourself, that is the most important work you can be doing right now. You take care of yourself, you take care of your spirit, then you take care of your family, then you take care of your neighborhood. Damn it if I don't feel like crying every single time I do one of these. But I am so passionate about taking care of the people around you right now. You get all this yeah about politics on Facebook. That matters. But oh my God, have you checked on your neighbor? Have you done what you can in your local community? Have you called your mom? Maybe you hate your mom. Have you called anybody to check on them? I hope people come to that realization because, I was thinking about it. And I was thinking about how life can seem so wonderful and we can take it for granted so easily. I mean, before all this started, I really did. I complained about certain things that now I wish I could be doing. I can't be playing music for people and hugging your necks in a bar, which is what I was doing. I can't be inviting loads of people over to my house to celebrate my daughter's birthday. Some people can't even be hugging their parents because they passed away. You can't even go out in public and shop anymore, So what if this moment is something you're taking for granted? That's something very important. Living in the now, right? Living right now and being so grateful. My heart is so full. I'm so grateful. And I know that there are certain people in certain situations, it's hard to be grateful. It reminds me of the story of Job in the Bible. And y'all have to forgive me. I am open to all religions. I have no dogma in my heart. I love everything, but I was raised on Christianity. And so I have these stories in my head, and they are significant. And the story of Job came to me recently, and I understood it better than I ever have in a long time. Because, there were preachers that would say when I was growing up, Job just was so thankful to God. He was so thankful to God no matter what happened to him. And I realized that maybe you can take the the religion out of that and realize Job had an acute awareness of how wonderful it is to be alive, no matter what. And that is something that not many people can tap into. It's very difficult to tap into that, to tap into the acute awareness that being alive is special and that we are here to affect change and to create and to love. And that's something that the Bible story of Job understood that. So I really do think that's something that the Mercury retrograde in Cancer, the feelings that we have that are so difficult, you have difficult feelings because you're alive and you're meant to feel even the worst feelings. That's why we're here. Some people don't even like it. And I understand that. But man, let yourself feel it and then love unabashedly. Because, we're here and this might be the best moment we get. We don't know what the future holds, you know? And if you don't love it now, you're never going to get another chance to it's 3:09 p.m. I don't get another chance to live 2:45 p.m. on July 3rd of 2020. You get another chance to do that. And, that doesn't mean don't be angry. That doesn't mean that means if you're angry, you have to just sit with it. Sit with the anger. Move the emotion. Maybe you need to drink a cold glass of water and figure out why you're angry and then come at it with love. I'm not preaching anyone to not be angry and to not, to spiritual bypass, because that's a thing too. Love and light, love and light, love and light. No, 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 no. Being acutely aware of how wonderful being alive is means being acutely aware of how shitty it can be. You don't have one without the other, that's the nature of that story. So now that I've cried again, but I just wanted to show you sorry, I feel like I got on a tangent there, but we're having similar themes from the beginning of this pandemic. Now, here's something else I want to talk about. So this is July 4th, right? The full moon. And another thing that I didn't mention is Mars is coming to Chiron. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. And this actually has implications for the right to exist. It's healing this idea that we don't have a right to just exist. And that's another thing that we're becoming aware of. Like, wow, we have a right to just exist and take care of ourselves, take care of our local community. That's something that we need to be focusing on. Some people don't feel like they have a right to be here because they don't, have a good job. They don't have a right to be here because they're this or they're that, or they're not true. We all have a right to exist just as we are, just as we were born. And I hate to say it, but even crappy people. So let's look at going forward, because I do want to explain a little bit about the movements of the planets from July 4th forward. So here's July 5th, and the moon does hit Saturn. Every time the moon has been in Capricorn, I've paid attention, because that means the moon's hitting all these planets. So, whatever comes up, whatever work comes up that you need to be doing, whatever lack of foundation you have, whatever is being destroyed in your life, it's a chance to rebuild in a different way. And that's what we're having the emotional awareness of right now. On July 6th, the moon moves into Aquarius, and something important starts to build very strongly. It's already starting to build at this thing, and I didn't actually talk about it for July 4th, but we've got Mars square Mercury right here. This is sensitive, Mercury sensitive, emotionally sensitive. And Mars is exciting some anger and rage, right? So these things spell explosions of maybe people being angry, maybe arguing. If you're feeling extra ragey, again, drink a glass of cold water. Just pay attention to Mama Mandy. I want you to drink a glass of cold water when you get angry. If you drink a tall glass of cold water, it cools you off. You have a chance to pause and think. Don't react, think. Super important right now. I'm not saying that you don't need to say the things that need to be said. You absolutely need to speak what you're feeling, but you need to do it in a conscious way, because if you don't, things could get ugly, because Mars is going to be angry. Okay. Mars in Aries is at home, and it's fire, 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 the god of war. But it also serves the purpose of showing us what we desire and what our passions are. That's great. But it can also make events a little more uncomfortable. Okay. So another thing is the moon comes into a square with Uranus. That could be a little bit, we're talking about emotional upsets in the next couple of days. Okay. I think that's something that's obvious with the 4th of July and the full moon. And I would caution people to just stay close to home, be careful. It's kind of weird energy. I mean, it already has been, but if you're going to fight systemic oppression and show up for people and care about people, that can get angry and weird and dangerous. And some people, I mean, I think that some people, there are bad actors out there. That's what one of my other teachers, Christopher Witecki, said about this. He said that the propensity for bad actors to come out during this time is high, meaning that there are troublemakers afoot. Okay, so that's another thing to be aware of. Let's see, I'm going to keep going, take you through the next little few weeks. Okay, the moon moves into Pisces on Wednesday. Pisces is a very spiritual sign. It could also be more confusion. So it could be either, and also escapism. So watch for that. Don't just be like, and I'm just going to drink a whole bottle of tequila because I can't deal with all this. Not probably the best decision. A better decision would be, I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to go hiking, or I'm just going to lay in the grass. Like, try to channel it into escapism, into even intellectual pursuits, so that's something to think about. The exact Mercury square Mars looks like it's Tuesday into Wednesday. Yeah, it is. It's 1:44 a.m. on Wednesday at 6 degrees. So that's also with Chiron. So this is very sensitive. I just don't know what else to say about that. Very, very sensitive. Pay attention to your emotions, feel them, sit with them, and drink a glass of cold water. Okay, so what I really want to look at, though, is yeah, there's the moon. Okay, so July 11th, next weekend, the moon comes into Aries to meet up with Mars. This is also the 3rd quarter square of the moon. Now, what does that mean? The first cycle is a new moon, and that happened in Cancer. Okay, we're going to talk about this area. That was the new moon on the solstice. And we're setting new, or planting new seeds on how we nurture ourselves and nurture our reality and nurture our world and our feelings and our emotions. Okay. We had the 1st quarter square, which is how we need to make adjustments to make that happen in Libra. Then we have the full moon in Capricorn, and that is, well, we need to build our structures appropriately. This is the awareness of what we need to do. And then the 3rd quarter square is the last tweaks that we make to make this happen. And that's in Aries with Mars. So next weekend, again, will be quite fiery, quite passionate. If you have something you want to do, or like a project you want to do, or especially a creative project, but anything that's physical as well, like you need to dig a ditch or anything like that, that's going to be a good time to do that, because the moon and Mars, that's also going to bring about some emotional awareness of some desires that we have, possibly from that full moon. in Capricorn. But watch that next weekend. Again, could be quite fiery and sensitive. So something to be said about that. That also means the moon's there squaring Mercury as well. July's this month's gonna be one for the books. And it also hits Chiron too on the Sunday. So if you do have any sort of emotional outburst or something come to a head on next weekend or even leading up to next weekend, I think that the moon hitting Chiron, it will do one of two things: either help heal that or find a way to heal that, or show you where the wound is here. Okay, so that's the two things that we could have happen. Another thing is that Mars and Venus are in sextile. So this means that the feminine and masculine principle are working together, the action and the receptivity. So it's like we're thinking and we're doing. We're acting on it and we're thinking. We're receiving the information and then we're acting on it. So that's helpful. Again, good chance to do something, finish a project, start a project, anything like that. But there is one thing I'll say about any if it's a long-term project, Mars will retrograde. Mars is usually in a sign for 7 weeks, around about. These are not exact dates, so please don't. But this year, Mars will be in Aries, its home sign, for 6 months. So exciting. Now, it's great for motivation and passion and finding out where your desires are, but during the retrograde period, you may be kept from getting what you want. And that's frustration. That's frustrating. So that's just something to be said, okay? Also, we've got the sun on July 13th starting to oppose Jupiter. Big emotions, because Jupiter is expansion and the sun in Cancer is, emotions and feelings, big feelings. Another thing about July 12th and 13th is Mercury goes direct. So anything that we've been rethinking, any feelings that have come up, even surprising feelings that have come up during this Mercury retrograde, anything that went wrong, that's when it starts to move forward. That's when we start to go, I know how to feel about this now. Your intellect understands your emotions when Mercury moves direct, and it will feel very helpful. Especially with the sun opposite Jupiter around that time as well. This is also an awareness of what we believe about reality when the sun opposes Jupiter. Your feelings are going to be acutely aware of what in your outside reality needs to change. And of course, that's something that is still, is the full moon, it's the third quarter square, it's just all this time, right? I'm kind of saying the same thing about every day, but it's true. Another thing is the moon on July 14th hits Uranus. This is maybe becoming emotionally aware of something we weren't before. Uranus is revolution and upheaval, maybe a value shift that's changed. That's something to be said about that. And then, let's see. Anytime the moon's going to be in an earth sign, it's going to trine all of this buildup in Capricorn, just FYI. Also, Saturn moves to 28 degrees with the sun still in opposition. The sun's going to be in opposition to Pluto. It's just intense. Pluto's intensity, power plays. So be expecting to see power plays on a global scale right now. Jupiter, Pluto, uncovering the rock, and power plays going on all right now. Intense transformation. The sun is opposing it. In fact, Jupiter is in opposition to the earth. I think it's as far away as it gets. So go out and look at it in the night sky. It's going to be right overhead. Right. With Saturn. Something interesting to see. Also, I forgot to say that. No, we're heading up to it. Okay. So July 17th is, and I was talking about this I did a video about the descending of Inanna into the underworld. Inanna is basically the first goddess. She's a Sumerian goddess, and she represents Venus. And they had a whole mythology about how Venus when it retrogrades, it becomes an evening star, and then it also retrogrades again, becomes a morning star, and the way that happens. So she became a morning star. And when you go out early in the morning, you can see Venus rise. And I think everyone should do that just before the sun comes up. You have to go out before the sun comes up. But especially on July 17th, I want to make sure of my date, July 16th, 17th. Let's look at the time. In fact, I'm going to select this so I can show you. I'm going to go with 4:30. Okay. I changed the way that the chart looks because I had it where 0 Aries just stayed there. But this now shows the rising sign. What the rising sign is where things come up. So, in fact, let me pull this up here. Okay. So, yeah. So July, oh, that's day. I need hour. There's 2:44 a.m. So about, I would say 3:45, 4:45. You can see here, this is where the sun rises, right here. That line. I need a better line. Right here. That's where the sun rises. I'm still not on the line. Y'all, I'm sorry. I have Mars and Virgo. I have to be perfect. Okay. Close enough. Now, this is the sun, still below the horizon. But this is Venus and the moon. The moon will hit Venus July 16th and 17th, and it will rise before the sun, and you'll be able to see Venus with the moon. It'll be beautiful. Get up early and see it. It's important. And actually, as far as it goes, her path, she becomes an evening star again, and I'm trying to get the date. I believe March 25th. So she'll be a morning star up until then. So when she goes retrograde again, I believe. I'm pretty sure. So it's important on this date. This is called the gate of authority in the dissensions. Every time the moon hits Venus, this is a shamanic astrology way of viewing it. Go out and look, and this is the crown chakra. We're going to be releasing stuff from each chakra at each gate. And so something you think you've always known, this is more of that belief, something you think you've always known and have always believed, it's time to release that, you know? And then when she becomes an evening star and rises, then you'll be able to fill that back up. It's really cool. So that's that date. Get up and look at it. It's going to be beautiful. You can do it any day, but this specific date, the moon will be with it. And I think it'll be beautiful. Okay, so I've said all that. And then the next thing that happens is on July. Sorry for the movements here. I'm not trying to make everyone motion sick. The moon hits the north node on July 18th. This is an emotional awareness of our evolutionary path, intellectually, communication-wise. But the thing I'm trying to get to is the second new moon in Cancer. That doesn't happen very often either. We don't generally have 2 new moons in one sign. Very rare. I don't think that's something that's inaccurate to say. So this new moon will be the second new moon in Cancer on July 20th. So you can see this is a double, triple almost focus on our emotional needs and security needs and family nurturing. That's another Cancerian thing, family, the mother. So I don't know if during this Mercury retrograde you've had any mommy issues, but that's a possibility. I have. I hope she doesn't watch this, but I have. Anyway, so definitely a possibility, including if you are a mother, or even if you mother people. You don't it doesn't have to be a gender thing either. I mean, the idea of the mother nurturing. Okay, that's what this Mercury retrograde's been about. And then the second new moon, 2 new moons in this area, right? And a solar eclipse. Lots of Cancerian. Get in some water, y'all. Go get in the river. Get in nature. Love your Mother Earth, too. That's another thing. So, yeah, July 20th is when that happens. It opposes Saturn. It's going to be interesting. Let me show you one more thing. And I know I'm going long, but I don't care because you could decide to jump off if you want. I want to show you the United States chart for July 4th. Okay? Here we go. Whole sign, whole sign. Trying to get my thing back. Whole sign. Calculate. All right. Well, no, I want 0 Aries. But I want to show you the United States chart just so you can see. I mean, this is kind of a good example of how I read charts as well. So let's see. Recently used. We have. I hope I saved it. The full moon. Please tell me I saved it. Ugh. Okay, well, anyway, I can do a new one. New chart. Obviously, it's US July 4th, 1776, and it was at 17 p.m. This is the Sibley chart. This is what it's called, Philadelphia, PA. Calculate. All right, there we go. Inside is the United States. Outside is the full moon. What do we have here? Let's see. This is the United States. The United States has a Cancer sun, strong family values, right? Is that not an American thing? Jupiter in Cancer, strong family values. Also emotional needs. So what is the United States moon then? Cancer is ruled by the moon. Well, we have an Aquarius moon. Aquarius rules freedom. So I just thought that was interesting, first of all. But second of all, yes, look at this. The sun on July 4th is at our birthday, our solar return, and the moon's over here. Well, here's another thing. If you notice, Pluto, we're about to have a Pluto return. Pluto's orbit is 240 years. Pluto is about transformation. Seems to me like we might be undergoing some of that, don't you think? So, another thing is the South Node is on the full moon, going to be sextile our moon. What does America believe freedom means? That's literally how you can read it. We're clearing out old belief systems about what freedom means. And what else can I find here? What else is going on? Oh, Mars will oppose our Saturn. Interesting. Saturn is our rules. Fair, just, balance. That's Libra. That we have Saturn in Libra as a country. Well, Mars and Aries, it's going to upset that a little bit. Interesting, huh? Super interesting. Seems to me as well that eventually Uranus is going to square our moon, but that will be for several years yet. So yeah, the next several years is going to be interesting. But I also find it interesting that United States had Mercury retrograde natally. There's some seeds being planted. There's something that's going to come up, y'all. I can't wait to see what it is. Anyway, all that being said, I think I'm done with my full moon stuff. I really appreciate y'all. I've had the best time doing sessions with people. If you want me to tell you where this is happening for you in your chart, I can do that. In fact, let me just say, if you know your rising sign, you can go to astro.com. If you are a Capricorn, this full moon is going to be on your sun. If you are a Cancer, this full moon is going to be opposite your sun. That's your identity. But I don't really do sun sign astrology because that's not the whole. You can see there's many planets, many spaces. And I actually put a lot of weight on the rising sign and what rules that. So if you are let's just put it this way. If you are a Capricorn rising, this full moon is going to be in your first house. That is your identity. You're going to be aware of some emotional identity, that just some work you need to do on who you are and how you show up. It's an emotional awareness of that. If you're a Sagittarius rising, this is going to be in your second house of finances. So an emotional awareness of any work or tweaks you need to make in your financial sector or values. This is your resources we're talking about. If you're a Scorpio rising, it's going to be happening in your third house, which is your mental processes. So maybe an intellectual awareness. Also rules siblings. Go to astro.com. You can pull your chart up and refer to this video, and you'll know exactly where the full moon's happening, where all of this restructuring is happening. So Scorpio rising's third house, mental processes, your community, your siblings, and how you communicate. If you're a Libra rising, it's going to be in your fourth house of your literal home. Also emotional needs. That's where it's going to be your emotional awareness is going to be about what you need to restructure in your emotional needs. Also culmination. If you've been doing a lot of work, that's going to become aware of that during this full moon. If you're a Virgo rising, it's going to be in your fifth house. That rules children, inner child, and creativity, also romance and love affairs. So you could be having an emotional awareness about how to structure that area of your life. Maybe a culmination if you've been doing a lot of work. This could also be a reaping rewards transit as well, this full moon. If you've been on your work and been doing your stuff, you're going to be reaping rewards during this time. That goes for all of the rising signs. If you're a Leo rising, it's going to be in your sixth house of health and everyday life and coworkers. If you are a Cancer rising, it's going to be in your seventh house of relationships with other people. That can be romantic or any sort of relationship. If you are a Gemini rising, it's going to be in your eighth house of sex, death, taxes, inheritance, transformation. If you're a Taurus rising, it's going to be in your ninth house of belief systems and personal truth, also travel and adventure. If you're an Aries rising, it's going to be in your 10th house of career, public reputation, and social status. If you're a Pisces rising, it's going to be in your 11th house of friend groups, networks, and goals and future life. And if you're an Aquarius rising, it will be in your 12th house. The 12th house is like your operating system, your subconscious, your dream world, your background programming. Okay. So I hope that helps a little bit. But always get at me for any sort of session you want to do. Natal sessions, transit sessions. I can do solar return charts. I can do relationship synastry. Go to ecstaticastrology.com. Also, I'm writing a beginning class on how to even just interpret a chart. I did a very quick overview of one, and I'll probably do that again too if you just want a quick overview of how to read a chart. But I'm also going to do deeper classes if you want to go deeper and maybe be able to add it into any sort of practice you have. Okay, y'all. Love you. I hope everything goes well for you. Happy Independence Day. What does independence really mean to you, though?